Welcome to episode 169 of Drew Sports Crew here on this Monday morning to afternoon. Myself, Drew Skyper, bringing you the news in the Wisconsin sports world. Look, again, it was a Milwaukee Brewer heavy week as it's been with the Packers offseason complete, I'd say relatively complete, and waiting on more news on that. And then, of course, the Jordan Love extension would be the next news. Otherwise, with the Bucks, same thing. Not a whole lot going on. We gotta wait till the finals wrap up before we start seeing some off-season things take place, as well as with the draft later this month. That's pretty crazy to think about. The NBA Finals starts this Thursday, so we're getting there. But we're in a baseball mood here these next couple of weeks, and that's not a bad thing. Look, this is a great time to be a Brewers fan, right? A 6-1 week. I was hoping for that. If you heard the show last week, 6-1 came out of my mouth, and that's what we got. We got the sweep of the White Sox we wanted, and we'll get into how that's gone. We gotta, of course, congratulate the NL Rookie of the Month for May. It was in fact Joey Ortiz. So Joey Ortiz is your rookie of the month in the NL. That involves. We'll clap. We'll cheer him on. That's exciting. Considering what he's been the best piece of the Burns deal for the Brewers, which some people thought it might have been DL Hall and Ortiz might have been more of a throw-in guy to hopefully play third. It was originally going to be a platoon. It was going to be Frelick and it was going to be Ortiz, righty lefty, with some Monasterio in there, and we're seeing now it's Ortiz's job. He's the everyday third baseman for this Brewers team with 5-6 years with MLB control. That's a significant acquisition for a year of Corbin Burns. So that's been really exciting to see, and he's been just a flat out hitter. I'll get into that here later in the show, as well as other players on the team. But first, you know how we've been starting these last few episodes. We've been like, hey, let's do an immaculate grid. Let's get the baseball mind going. This one doesn't have a Brewers team on it, but I think we can get some Brewers names. Let's see, though. To start here, right, we see Marlins. So, I mean, you see Marlins left field. You think he did it? You think Yelich played in left? I don't know. I want to say like Brinson, too, because I feel like Louis Brinson would be a phenomenal guess. But I see Adam Duvall on here right away. I also see Edwin Jackson. He played for Detroit. 5%. There you go. Detroit Marlins. Did Daniel Norris, because he was a Brewer, we know that. I wonder if he did. I want to just say Duvall here. 6%. I feel like Duvall was middle left. I think that's what everyone said. That's why I was like, we can get away with that. Okay. Detroit, Miami. That's one. I feel like we could go some different ways. I thought Daniel Norris did, but now I'm like, he probably didn't. Why would he? Braves. Well, Boston Steels. Let's get this one out of the way. Ellsbury's going to be the highest. Carl Crawford's going to be up there. Coco Crisp do it with them. I don't know. I'm going to do it. I'm sorry. This is going to be high. Jacoby Ellsbury, 30%. Yikes. Detroit Steels. I thought like Akil Baddoo did it, but it might have been close. Maybe he didn't do it. I'm talking myself out of that one. Rajay Davis did it with them. 7%. Okay. Left field, who has stolen 30 bases in a season. You have to play it one game. This is where I want to go Brewer. But Yelich had 30 steals with the Brewers that 1 year. I believe he did. I believe he sure did. He sure did. Okay. Atlanta left fielder, 1 game. I can't overthink this. Marcell Zuna. Atlanta left fielder. I don't think Inciarte ever played him left. Yeah, I just threw Ender Inciarte, his name out there. Left fielder with Atlanta, the Braves. We will think on that. Okay, I'm going to say I gotta put Ozuna. I can't think of another name. 9%. Atlanta left field. Duvall. Soler probably played and left for a game. He didn't with them, really. I figured when I traded for him, I'm surprised he didn't play a single game and left. Little shocking. RC has played and left. Okay. Atlanta, Boston. I gotta just put Norris. Did Daniel Norris play for them? No, he didn't. All right. Well, kind of an okay grid. Miggy, obviously, Smoltz. Yeah, I should have came up with a better name. I was trying to be too cute with it. Trying to be too cute with those low percents. There's a little baseball. There's some Brewers in there for you. All right. Well, let's hide that. Let's go now into the baseball talk on the show. Yeah, I talked about to start the show, right? 6-1 is what we've seen, and it's been a very good start for the Brewers. I think there's a couple stats. Right? I mean, we saw Kevin Hergert yesterday. He was a runner-up to be the thumbnail of the show. I'll say that. He had a changeup yesterday. If you go on StatCast, 22 inches of horizontal movement on the changeup. It was wicked. It looked like Oliver Drake. Yeah, Oliver Drake, name drop on the show. You remember Oliver Drake with the Brewers? Was now 2018, I believe, 6 years ago. Through the splitter. The splitter was Wipeout. That was before a lot of the movement stuff. Movement stuff picked up in 18, don't get me wrong, but now that's the talk of the town. So that's been something that we've seen, and you really have to appreciate that Kevin Hergert. He had 5 strikeouts yesterday in 2 1/3, and obviously control got to him in that third inning out there. But credit, he was out there and he looked really well. Or I mean, he played very well, and you really like to see that. But I want to go to Ortiz here. Talk about Ortiz a little bit in the show. There's a couple things that's really stand out with Ortiz. His StatCast page, which is something we like to look at, is pretty valuable. I mean, very valuable. He has a 14.3% K rate. This is a guy who, in the minors, that was something that really stood out, and you usually like to see that translate to the majors. It often doesn't because of how the difference between AAA to big league pitching. But what we're seeing with Ortiz is he's in the 90th percentile, 90th percentile in K rate, 14.3% only. That is upper. I mean, that is top tier. I mean, you talk about some of those top guys like Bryce Harper and so on. In terms of walk rate too, 92. So being in the 92nd percentile for that, 13% there walk rate. Obviously, his chase rate's only 20%. So he's top with all that. The thing that with Ortiz is a little worrisome for some people, where there is a feeling with some regression, is the average exit velocity is 29th percentile. The barrel rate too is low. These numbers come into effect because usually we see like exit velo contribute to a lot of top average exit velo guys. It actually goes with stats, right? I know O'Neal Cruz, there's some exceptions to it, but Ortiz is someone who we want to see him hit the ball harder, and that's where the stats could even pop more. But the big thing I want to mention is he's not like this 30 home run guy. His bat, at least it isn't right now in his age 25 year. He's more of a 15 home run guy. I think that's what you'll expect from him. So he's not this slugging third baseman, but he's a third baseman where his OPS, if he can keep at least above 800, he's driving into the gaps right now. He's getting a lot of extra base hits that way, a lot of doubles. Do I dare throw out like a Ramos Ramirez? Like that's kind of the numbers we're seeing from him is that later Ramos Ramirez. Not the guy who's going to give you that 30 home run season that he was with the Cubbies, but a guy who is going to give you, I think, that 2012 season with Ramos Ramirez. I know it's a crazy name to think of right now, but what he's bringing is that kind of potential with decent defense and some good value. So, highlight him as the key guy who they got in the trade, and he's been a success so far. He is number 4 on the team in WAR. And you would have told me that at the start of the year, I wouldn't say I'd be confused, but I would be very pleased with the results. Obviously, William Contreras leads the way in WAR, 2.5. Right behind him at 2.4 is Bryce Terang. And then Adames with his hot homestand, that brings him into third, 1.9. Yelich back and had a 5-hit game. right as the Brewers logged on, I believe that was on Friday, and it was 23 hits. That's the most by a team this season. His WAR is up to 1.2, so he's back to 7th on the team. So you like to see how he's kind of gone up. And then with Blake Perkins, it's the defensive value he brings, 1.4 WAR. And that's what you want from Perkins. He bunts one time a game. You see it if you watch one time a game, and that's something to see. And Pat Murphy being a front runner for NL Manager of the Year is also something you like to see. The Brewers playoff odds, 99.9% per Baseball Reference. I read that right. 16.7% chance to win the World Series. Obviously, that varies greatly, but that's what it's at right now. I'm just reading the stats. You can do with that what you want. The Brewers are almost halfway to their win total they're projected at 75.5. So that's funny, but overall, it was a great end of the month of May. Phenomenal ending. 6-1 week. We talked about Gary Sanchez, 8th inning week. Big home run on Thursday for Sanchez. Go ahead 2-run home run. Sunday with the insurance runs of the game. They're in the 8th. Helps the Brewers win 6-3. But this week, we talked about Monday and Tuesday's game. 10-6 Wednesday that win. 6-4 on Thursday. They got to Shoto Imanaga. I got it. Shoto Imanaga. See, I got thrown off. I was telling Jared about this on the pod, and for football was people were saying it multiple different ways when he got signed, and it just totally threw me off. And now I can't say the way that now it's confirmed, right? Shoto Imanaga. I got it now, but it just doesn't come to me right away. And he's a great pitcher, and you definitely got to respect what he's done this year. But just a tough outing against the Brewers. Brewers have been lethal at home offensively, and gives up 7 runs there. Yelich with a no-doubter. But we talk about all this. We talk about the dollar dogs. Were a hit on Saturday. They sold a crap ton of them. What was it like? Was it like 3 or was it like 30,000? I don't even know what it was. It was a number in the threes. I don't remember what it was, but that could have been a stat of the week too. Like the schedules got tough this week, and I'll go through those games here. We talk about how the Brewers have had a tough schedule, but now it's gotten easier and it gets tough again. The Brewers actually have one of the easiest schedules, if not the easiest schedule, the rest of the way out, which may surprise you based on this June schedule being a little tough. It helps that they have some teams that aren't performing, but you look at the schedule, you go to September, for example, you see some tough games in the middle, but you also see the Rockies for 3. Depending how the Cardinals do, you have them for 3. Obviously, the Phillies for 3 don't look well, but a 4-game series against the D-backs might be fine. A 3-game series with the Mets at the end of the year also could be totally fine. And then Pirates for 3 in the middle there. But not to get too far ahead of ourselves was not my intentions. But the point was the Brewers' schedule isn't overly difficult in September. They got the tough games in August. There's a 10-game stretch or so I would say is not ideal. It's 4-game series against the Dodgers, 3 against Cleveland. We know Cleveland, the Guardians, have been one of the best teams all season. And then you have 3 games against the Cardinals in St. Louis. Brewers have historically done well in St. Louis in the last 5 years, but that's still not ideal. The Cardinals have actually rebounded and played well. They might actually trade for players at the deadline. I'd be surprised, but it could happen. So looking at that, it's a tough stretch for the Brewers. Also, they have a doubleheader they got to make up with Cincy. They got to do it. So they have, in a span of 6 days, they have 7 games, which you don't like to see, especially in late August. I dislike that greatly. It's a poor schedule for the Brewers, but overall, we gotta just focus on June. And this June week is toughy. They actually face. We've talked about, they've avoided this ace in this series. They got to avoid this guy. Not in this White Sox series. They got the best for the White Sox, and they took it to them with Crochet and Fetty. But this Philly series is not so ideal as it features in the games. It's Zach Wheeler today. It is Christopher Sanchez tomorrow, and Aaron Nola Wednesday. So you're getting their top 3 pitchers. Obviously, Ranger Suarez has been very effective too, but he unfortunately got injured in a game 2 days ago. They won't see him, but Wheeler and Nola, you talk about the best in the biz. two of the guys who are that. And then Sanchez has been very good at limiting hard contact this year. He's a lefty who might give the Brewers some fits. And then the Brewers actually don't have any of their starters scheduled. We do envision it's going to be Bryce Wilson today. I would envision Wilson today. We'll see then kind of how they move there. Jansen Junk might get a spot start. That's my guess is what we'll see this week. We saw Peralta go yesterday. Colin Ray we're going to see in the series. But those are some of the guys who it's going to be interesting to see. I envision Bryce today. But when I was mapping out the schedule preview, it really came down to matchups. Aaron Nola is not a great matchup for the Brewers, a righty who has a lot of movement horizontally on his pitch mix. Tends to not favor the Brewers well, even with the lefties they've had this year who have hit well, especially on the road. So it's a little scary, but I think the Brewers will manage. I don't want to be negative, but I think the Brewers, if the goal here is to obviously win the series, but if they win one and lose two, I don't think we need to overreact. I think this is a really good Phillies team, and we're facing them at a good time where they've been hot, and Cardinals gave them some fits this weekend, but we'll see what the Brewers do. I'm optimistic. This weekend series here against Detroit is tough. We get to see Reese Olson, who the Brewers actually traded away a couple years ago, and now he's got an ERA around 2. He's been really effective again at minimizing the hard contact, and has been really good. We'll also face the best pitcher in possibly all of baseball this season. It's Rick Skubal. We'll see him Sunday. He's the guy who's coming back from Tommy John, lefty, a lot of velo, a lot of movement. We'll see him again Sunday. I'm intrigued to see how that start goes for Skubal against this Brewers offense, and be a toughie there in the weekend. We'll see Peralta probably on Saturday was my guess. We'll kind of see how they work him as he threw a lot of pitches yesterday, especially in that first inning. But overall, we're hoping for I was going for with 6 games, right? We won 4-2. We'll take 4-2. 3-3 might be fine here, just based on how this week lines up for the Brewers. That's kind of the focus on it this week. And overall, looking at how this team's projected again, we kind of talked about it. This team's projected now for well over 90 wins. Is kind of what I've seen, and that's kind of where I'd have them at. I think between 90 and 95 is reasonable. Maybe I'm too optimistic, too bullish. You let me know. But I do think this Brewers team has shown us that they are now 13 games over 500. Is this team, we can expect them to, at this point of the season, you would expect them to win 90 games, right? You'd expect them to be the NL Central winner. Obviously, being ahead 7 games, you would, but there's a lot of season left. And I know I've seen Brewers fans, including myself, we've celebrated this historic start for them. I say historic because based on what was stacked against them and what was projected, they've really pushed against that and have showed the media national attention. Like they've gotten it now and said, this is who we are. And you look in the rest of the year, I want to mention we want to celebrate this, right? But we want to also realize there's a lot of season left. There's a lot of season left. So we need the Brewers to still, I guess as fans, we need to still remain hey, we still got to win the games, right? I know that some people are celebrating, right? They've projected them win over 75.5. That's what they had them at. And I was mentioning, if you bet on them win over 75.5, you got to be happy with the start, but they haven't won that 76th game yet. We've seen collapses. Not to throw 2014 out there, but 10 years ago this happened. A start like this happened and it fell apart. Yeah, I think there's some differences on this team, but I also realize who's our best player that year? Jonathan Lucroy, a catcher. Who's our best player this year? A catcher, right? There's still some small things there that's okay. That team had starting pitching holes, and that team's starting pitching did fall apart as ours could. There's a lot of things that we need to still acknowledge here with this team, and I'm happy with the Brewers, though. I think they need to add a starting pitcher. We'll talk about that more in the deadline when we get more towards July. I think that'll be appropriate time. All I'm saying is the Marlins have been selling, right? We saw Luis Ariz. Jesus Luzardo would be a wonderful Milwaukee Brewer, a lefty addition to that rotation. You'd love to see it. Anyways, I didn't really do announcements before. I'll do those now here before we wrap it up. At Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, X, and TikTok, right? On TikTok, you'll see all the Drew Sports Crew content, as well as on YouTube. So whether that's rankings, videos of myself talking about whether it's ranking fan bases in the NFL. That was fun. I have a ranking sports championship episode or a little short coming out where it's a minute of me talking, ranking 10 sports events. If you're a racing fan, I'm sorry. I'll tell you that in advance. I apologize. Other than that, expect Journey to Million be this Wednesday with myself, Drew Skyberg, and then Zach Roush and Jared Vleski. Otherwise, that's all I got here on this this Monday afternoon. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.